There we go. Delayed entrance. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to West London. Welcome to Craven Cottage, Norwich City in Carabao Cup third round action. And we're going to start immediately with the team. Norwich City line up like this. It's only two players involved who played at Plymouth. Long in goal, Fisher, Warner, Gibson, who captains the side this evening, and Sam McCallum make up the back four. Liam Gibbs and Adam Forshaw as the midfield two. Hernandez and Poeta on either wing, with Tony Springett behind Huang Yu Zhou. The subs Reyes, Stacey, Duffy, McLean, Sarah, Fashnak, Saints, John Rowe and Adam Eder. So just to run through that again, George Long in goal, Fisher, Warner, Gibson and McCallum at the back four. Gibbs and Forshaw the midfield two. Hernandez on the right, Poeta on the left, with Tony Springett behind Huang Yu Zhou, and the subs of Reyes, Stacey, Duffy, McLean, Sarah, Fashnak, Saints, Rowe and Adam Eder. Paddy, given how David Wagner spoke about this game after Saturday, and given the importance of Saturday at Carrow Road against Birmingham, is that as you expected, really, in terms of, 9 changes from the side that played on Saturday?
I think so, Connor. Yeah, I think all the messaging from David when we did his media for this game, which was straight after the Plymouth game, so there was always an issue with potentially an intervening period, any issues fitness related, but looking at the bench, that doesn't look to have been the case, so he's clearly gone with what he feels is necessary tonight. Whether that improves their chances of getting through against a very good and strong Fulham squad, it doesn't clearly, but what's the priority now? I think for most people now, especially after the recent downturn in the league culminating in what happened at Plymouth, this game, Birmingham City, Carrow Road on Saturday, what's the priority? It's obvious. So with that in mind, it was, centre-back, he was going to have to probably play one of Duffy or Gibson. Does that potentially, because we know Danny Barty's cup-tied tonight?
Could they do 45 each?
Possibly, well, time will tell, but to me it might suggest that maybe Gibbo won't feature against Birmingham. That's just me hypothesising, but, it was so poor in that area of the field. It wasn't just down to them on Saturday, let's get that straight, but, there has been a bit of a pattern in terms of central defensive vulnerability. So are we tonight with Gibson starting and Duffy on the bench, seeing potentially a Duffy-Bath axis against Birmingham? Time will tell. And then it was really, for me, the only other issue was central midfield. You're going to go McLean, Forshaw, one or the other. He's gone Forshaw tonight with Kenny on the bench. And then further forward, it's interesting. The Saints is obviously the eye-catching one. Hopefully we do see him at some point in this game, and that'll be the first real significant, it will be senior debut, but real significant step on the road to him being a frontline option in terms of the championship. So that to me is the biggest takeaway from tonight. I mean, we can probably tell the viewers now that there was a little bit concerned maybe with Long before the game, what we're led to believe that he's not been feeling too well as in the last 24 hours or so, and he was going to wait until he got here, and potentially Reyes might have started.
We could still have a change, I think, is basically
he's going to give it the warm up, isn't he, and see how he goes. But there's a little suggestion that Gunny might have stayed behind. Obviously, a little bit of an issue, shoulder. An injection he's had in that, nothing untoward in terms of Saturday. But anybody looking at it think, well, if Long wasn't available, surely Gunny would step in. But obviously Gunny isn't here tonight, and there's a little treatment going on to his shoulder, but nothing, as we're led to believe, that would preclude him from Saturday. So, is it how I thought it would go? Yeah. What about you, Connor? 9 changes. Did you feel we were in that ballpark?
Yeah, I did. I expected maybe a few more younger players to be involved, at least on the bench, but that isn't the case. He's gone fairly strong. We obviously mentioned the goalkeeper one. I guess, feeding into that centre-back discussion, perhaps the only name we've not mentioned there earlier of you to Saturday is Jayden Warner. I mean, it's his senior debut tonight. Is there an opportunity for him to go out and impress? Maybe Saturday would feel too soon in terms of he'd have to do something pretty spectacular tonight, you'd think, to get in the conversation. But he can certainly stake his claim, and if he can, show himself to be a little bit different, maybe a little bit quicker than the options. I'm trying to be diplomatic, than the options in front of him. Does he become a different type of centre-back option for Norwich City?
He definitely couldn't be any slower, let's put it that way, on the evidence so far with those two. But well, that's not saying a lot. But it's a huge step up from the level he's been playing at. There's a reason why they've let Brad Hills go out to Accrington. There's a reason they've let Tompkinson go out to Bradford. Maybe they viewed them two as a little bit further along in the development cycle. and kept him in and around the development team. But opportunity knocks tonight, and if he comes in and looks comfortable in this grade of company, then yeah, as David said, and he referenced it with Quaheta principally, but Kellen Fisher as well. There'll be players who've come into these cup ties this season who have just given the manager a nudge. Yeah, yes, they're in and around it, so clearly he rates them to a degree. But if you can come in, show you're comfortable at this level, and tonight particularly against Premier League opposition, why shouldn't you then be talked about in terms of conversations for Championship action? Yeah, absolutely. And I just hope he enjoys the experience and shows us what he's all about. I've not really seen enough of him in development action, really. I was at the Gorha Science game the other night, actually, against Wolves in a Premier League Cup. And he did actually set up the first goal for Norwich. He played a lovely, raking 50, 60-yard pass. So he looks like, to me, from the evidence I've seen, that he's very comfortable in possession. But I've not seen enough of him defensively. But good that he has Luke Gibson alongside him tonight, a bit of experience. And yeah, I mean, it's games within games. Ultimately, it's about trying to progress tonight. But in the bigger picture, can Jayden Warner tonight put a marker down that, yeah, maybe I should be in the conversation moving forward? So, yeah, that's definitely one to watch, isn't it?
It is indeed. Are we in a position to bring the away lineup up? I think we are. And this is how Fulham line up. And I'm immediately drawn to that midfield pairing of Polinia, who was linked with a big money move to Bayern Munich in the summer, and Tom Kearney, who at championship level was one of the best players on quite a few occasions. Willian, Harry Wilson, Alex Iwobi, Vinicius up front, who had a loan spell at Spurs, Issa Diop, Castagna, Roduk in goal, Bassi. I appreciate I've not done that in order, but just goes to show the level of quality that they have, Paddy. That's a very, very strong Fulham side tonight, particularly in those attacking areas, which is particularly pertinent given we've just discussed the defence.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, everything David Wagner said about this club is probably set up now that not to take Premier League survival for granted, but, you know, they finished in the top 10, 11 last season. They're in and around that stage of the table early on under Marco Silva. So maybe they're now thinking that this is an opportunity for them to go all the way. You've seen the strides that Brighton have made. You know, there's clubs outside the traditional top 6 or 7 who've got to finals now, domestic finals in recent years. There's no doubt, particularly if that's their shadow squad, dear me, that Fulham, given that, you know, with three rounds into this competition tonight, why couldn't they feel they could go all the way to Wembley? And that lineup from Marco Silva hints that, you know, they're taking it very seriously. So,
and you made a valid point as well. Their next game isn't until Monday against Chelsea, so they've got probably a period of time where they can rest the players in that. We're going to come on to the Norwich City's lineup again in a minute. I just wanted to bring this comment up from Jeff Man. Those seats don't look too comfortable there. What were we calling them? Traditional?
Old school.
Old school. Yeah, and then he's followed up with he missed those Premier League lanyards, which I hadn't even realised until I saw that comment. But yeah,
can we say that? Yeah, there we go. EFL, proud EFL.
Yeah, there you go. Let's talk about that Norwich City lineup then. Attacking wise, it's Wang. We probably expected that to be the case, given how Adam Eder performed. He was probably the one player who really you could argue has to be a starter on Saturday. But more interestingly, behind him, you've got Tony Springett, who we've not really seen in that kind of second striker role. He's not one of the players that, from memory anyway, that David Wagner has referenced. He's spoken about Nunez and Quaheta. Is that just where Norwich City are at with their squad, that Tony Springett is having to play in that role? I think someone said that he did play there for a little bit of time in the Kings Lynn friendly, which is a better memory than I have.
I think he did, actually.
Yeah. So what do you make of that? It's probably a big night for him, isn't it? Because he's been on the periphery, he's been in and around the squad. David Wagner really likes him. He's a player that he didn't want to send out on loan. Real opportunity for him here tonight to try and stake a claim as well, given maybe there's places up for grabs.
Well, I mean, you're talking Kings Lynn, but I'm pretty sure Southampton, at a delicate stage of that game, he threw Tony Springett on and he was in a middle of the field role. You know, there was a lot of responsibility shown that day. And, yeah, there's no doubt about it. From pre-season onwards, anytime you speak to David Wagner about Tony Springett, he's really seen something in this guy. You know, his composure, he talks about his ability to take the ball in tight areas and handle it, and the responsibility. And obviously in the area the pitch is in tonight, if it is to be just tucked in there behind Wang, yeah, the onus will be on him to be that link player, won't it? So, hell of a task against this Fulham lineup, as we've just seen. But again, a little bit like Warner, if he was to show up well tonight, then he does push himself forward into that conversation, because as we saw at the weekend, Sargent and Barnes, it isn't just about is it Wang. There's the link player in terms of the attacking midfielder around him, and obviously second half it looked a lot better when Gabby Zara went there, and you'd think that's where David will go when we get back round to Birmingham at the weekend. In terms of it would be Forshaw, it would be McLean, it would be Zara further forward as the chief support to Adam Eder. But Gibbs has had an opportunity in there. Nunes isn't fit and available at the moment, so on you go, Tony. See what you can do. And I haven't again seen enough of him to make me feel that he's really at a level in his development that he could come in and influence championship games of football from the start. But these nights come along and you grab the opportunity. Who knows? I think that's where we're going to be by the end of tonight. We'll know a little bit more about Warner. We'll know a little bit more about Springett, and for me personally, hopefully we'll learn a little bit more about Borja Sainz. That is the reason for me. That is the biggest takeaway potentially from this game, irrespective of the result. If Borja Sainz comes on and looks comfortable in this class, then at least you've got that to cling to as we move forward now and try and put behind them a very difficult period in terms of results.
Yep, and for those joining us late, as Norwich City's goalkeepers emerge for their warm-up, we'll come back to them in just a moment. Norwich City line up with Long in goal, Fisher, Warner, Gibson and McCallum as the back four, Gibbs and Forshaw as the midfield two, with Hernandez and Plaheta on either flank. Tony Springett is partnering Huang Yuzhou up front for Norwich. Reyes, Stacey, Duffy, McLean, Sarah, Fashnak, Saints, Rowe and Adam Eder make up the bench. We mentioned earlier on George Long has been suffering with a little bit of illness. He's going to try and get through the warm-up, and that will give us an indication of whether he can start tonight. If not, it will be Vicente Reyes who comes in, and I can see as well young goalkeeper Caleb Anson is out there warming up with those as well, so he would come onto the bench. So that's just one to keep an eye on. Paddy, I mean, this is an interesting game because I think for a lot of people, for most people, the majority of people, Saturday's obviously the big one. It's the one that everyone's looking towards. I mean, how significant is this for Norwich City tonight after what happened on Saturday?
Well, tying that point you've made there, Connor, with this question, because we touched on this in the pod, didn't we? Which, if you haven't listened or watched, I advise you to do that because it'll be out.
Enough time.
It'll be out of date by the time this game finishes. But you asked me, was moving this forward Saturday, is that a must-win for Wagner as much as the team? And personally, I didn't think it was, and that's based on what they've done so far this season on overall, and particularly at Carrow Road, because obviously the next game is at Carrow Road. But by the same token, if we get any semblance of the performance at Plymouth moving past tonight, irrespective of tonight, because we've seen it, that Fulham lineup, Norwich's front line options, a fit Sargent, a fit Barnes, fit Grant Hanley, you want to throw them into here, this is going to be a tough assignment, irrespective. So tonight, for me, doesn't change the mood.
Is that key?
Yeah, to a degree, but he's made 9 changes. How many of these will be in his thinking for Birmingham as the starting 11? No, for me, this week is now all about Birmingham, and if we get anything approaching Plymouth in terms of the unpalatable elements of that performance, and then the result would, you would think, follow suit, maybe not 6-2, but then, I'm pretty sure the Carrow crowd will voice their displeasure. How loud that volume will be, and how prolonged it would be directed at David Wagner or his players, nobody knows. But I personally, I'm going to bowl this one back to you, Connor. I don't think we're quite at the point of no return. But very swiftly it has to turn again, because as we discussed on the podcast, it isn't just 8 games into this season. It's the 1 win in 11 from last season. And where's the anomaly? Is it this run now and the back end of our season, and what we're going to see under Wagner is the first 6 or 7 games, or conversely, is that the norm and what we've seen around that? Not good enough. What we got?
Thanks for that, Carl. We're just fresh-faced off a trip to Plymouth. How do you see this? How do you see this going, Payne? Feels pretty impossible to call. Feels hard to me to navigate a route for Norwich City into the fourth round draw. 3-1 defeat.
3-0.
I see. I was going to go 3-0 and thought I'd be generous, but there we
I've
go.
got to be honest, from what I've seen from Wang so far, I'm not overly confident that he's going to be in the back of the net.
There we go.
I jinxed it.
Yeah, there we go. Lump in on a hat trick for Hwang Yu-jo tonight. That's it from us. You can join us pinkin.com on the Pinkin Plus app as well. We'll have live coverage of this game throughout the evening, analysis and reaction thereafter. It feels a little bit like the dress rehearsal for the big one on Saturday, but let's see how much change Norwich City side puts up and deals with what is a very strong Fulham team. Thank you very much for watching.